Good afternoon, and thanks for tuning in to the final round of BevNet's new Beverage Showdown 19. I'm Ray Latif, the editor and producer of BevNet's Taste Radio podcast, the #1 podcast for the food and beverage industry. The new Beverage Showdown is BevNet's signature beverage brand competition and sponsored by Venture and Emerging Brands, an operating unit of the Coca-Cola Company. The showdown gives early stage and promising brands the opportunity to present their business plans and products to a panel of expert judges and the audience watching at home on the live stream. The winner of the two-day competition will receive a $10,000 ad package and join a short list of brands that have triumphed in the showdown, including Health-Ade, Malk, Owl's Brew, Hop Tea, and Grady's Cold Brew. Out of the 12 semifinalists who presented on Tuesday, 6 have made it to the final round. Let's talk about the rules for the final round. Each of the 6 brands will have 5 minutes of immediate feedback from the judging panel. After all the brands have presented, the judges will convene, and we will announce the winner live just after 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also have a short interview with the winner after the announcement. Just to note, there will be no audience voting in this round. All right, let's meet our panel of esteemed judges, beginning with John Craven, who is the founder and CEO of BevNet and a widely recognized authority on the beverage industry. His vision shapes the editorial, publishing, and positioning of all of BevNet's properties. He's also Wolverhampton Wolves' #1 fan and wears the team's bright yellow jersey at least 6 times a week. Surbi Lal is the senior manager of venturing strategy within Venturing and Emerging Brands at the Coca-Cola Company. Prior to joining the VEB team, she delivered strategic initiatives for Smart Water as part of the brand team. Jamie Danik is the co-founder and CEO of Hum Kombucha, one of the top-selling brands in the kombucha category. Jamie built Hum from the ground up and is now focused on defining strategy and leading the overall execution of Hum's rapid expansion. Last, but certainly not least, is Chuck Cassano, who's the founder and CEO of High Touch Distribution, a premier Southern California direct store distributor specializing in perishable fresh foods. He's also the founder of Pitaya Plus, a brand of dragon fruit-based products. Chuck actually participated as a contestant in the very first New Beverage Showdown back in 2011 when he was presenting Pitaya Plus. How about that? Chuck, any last-minute advice for the finalists? Chuck, you're up. There you go. You're muted for a second.
So I think at this point in the stage, I'm really interested in understanding the why you got into this business, why you developed this program, and what is your real motivation to get this, whatever brand you have, launched and into the public. So that's what I'm really going to be looking out for.
Why is a good question, and I have a feeling we'll get an answer from the finalists. All right, let's get to it. Our first finalist of the day are Fahim Kaji and Aisha Chetani, the co-founders of Moment. Aisha, Fahim, how are you?
We're great. How are you doing, Ray?
I'm doing great. Great to see you guys again.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this moment all our lives.
There you go. There you go. I like the pun. You ready to present?
Yeah, let's get started.
Fantastic. Your 5 minutes will begin now.
Awesome. So if you move to the next slide, Fahim is the creative, cool, visionary one, whereas I am the brain behind the numbers. We moved to America 6 years ago to follow our dreams and start a business here.
Moment is a natural botanical beverage which reduces stress and feels like meditation. It uses a proprietary formulation which stimulates the same alpha brainwaves that meditation does for a feeling of calmness and clarity. It's all backed by scientific research, it's non-drowsy, and all our ingredients are generally recognized as safe by the FDA. I created Moment because my afternoons would always be filled with endless meetings, notifications, and deadlines. All I wanted was to press pause on all of that. Everything I was surrounded by at the time was either sugary or caffeinated, and it would just get me more and more stressed. We've spoken to thousands of people since then, and everyone feels exactly the same way in 2020, more than ever, actually. What's interesting is that even though people are so stressed, they don't want to slow down. They literally just want to take a moment to reset. At Moment, we're reinventing the entire way people think about stress relief. See, it's not just about calmness and relaxation. We make taking a moment easy and joyful. And we've got a little video that shows you exactly what it should feel like.
It's
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed that. The experience of taking a moment begins with the cans, and these cans are truly multi-sensory. Our bold, bright packaging stands out on the shelf but communicates a zen-like feeling through simplicity, gentle fades, and a lot of empty space. The logo is intentionally at the bottom of the can so that we can focus the consumer on the core job to be done. Drink your meditation. And the labels themselves are soft and tactile, which reinforces the feeling we're creating. Customers absolutely love them.
So we have spent 2 years experimenting, mixing hundreds of different flavors in a tiny kitchen. We only hit the sweet spot, and my mom recommended a couple of herbs from Pakistan, which she uses for stress relief. The flavors are now a perfect combination of exotic fruit, herbs, and spices. And each is inspired by a special part of our heritage. Rooibos from South Africa, where Fahim is from, Tulsi from my native Pakistan, and hibiscus from Southeast Asia. Moment has no sugar and less than 15 calories. We use natural sweeteners that won't spike your insulin levels, so that means no agave or honey, and it makes us keto friendly. It won't affect your sleep like coffee does. Even if you look at some of our direct competitors, Moment is so much better. It has no naughty ingredients or CBD. At $2.49, it is a lot cheaper, and it's non-carbonated because a still beverage is better for a still mind.
So this is our customer. They're young, healthy, health conscious, and career focused. They have it on a stressful morning or to help them reset during a busy afternoon at the office. And they have it every single day instead of a cup of coffee, a glass of water, or another healthy beverage. We've even had some of our customers use it as a pre-yoga drink to help them get into the zone. In the medium term, our market is a lot broader because after all, who doesn't want less stress? We launched on Amazon a few days ago and are part of the Amazon Launchpad program. Last week, we were actually the #1 new release for flavored water on Amazon. We're a beverage that was designed for the workplace, and we want to take moments into workplaces and work from homes all over America where people are more stressed than ever. It's not just about distributing the product, but it's supporting it with experiences and content that reinforce our brand. We've already developed a meditation course that's accessible by text message.
We are on a mission to help everyone be their best through calmness and focus. 1% of our proceeds go to helping kids in school learn about mindfulness.
So the final slide, just as a quick summary, we're an awesome team with the skills and passion to make this happen. We've got a powerful concept and a brand with the idea of drinking your meditation for the most stressful time in history, and it's reinforced by extra sensory packaging. We've got a product that is healthy and delicious and inspired by global traditions around stress relief. We've got a unique focus on work with clear use cases and distribution as a result. And of course, we have a bigger purpose to help everyone be their best through calmness. Stress is a major problem, and this is the moment to solve it.
All right. Unfortunately, you're out of time. And I didn't mention this earlier, but if folks hear that gong sound, it means the contestant has run out of time. Amazing stuff nonetheless. Well done with your presentation. All right. Let's take it to the judges. Serby, let's start with you. Drink your meditation is the tagline. Seeing more products like this come to market. I kind of look at it as almost a relaxation drinks 2.0. Would Coca-Cola venture into this space? And if so, is Moment the right brand?
That's a very leading question, right? But I'll talk about it more high level. We were already seeing the anxiety economy kind of emerging, but I think that's only been heightened with the pandemic, and mental well-being is more important than ever. There are plenty of other relaxation beverages out on the market, but I feel like Moment's done a really good job with differentiating their positioning. It's more of a white space positioning of drink your meditation. I know they recently launched on Amazon, but I'd love to learn more about their customer acquisition strategy.
Yeah, it's a great question. So Amazon is obviously an important part for us. By the way, can you hear us? Yes, you can. We wanted to be on Amazon because we wanted to take advantage of the huge growth that's happened in grocery as a result of the coronavirus. And people who were never buying grocery online are now buying grocery and beverages online, and we wanted to do some of that. And we found that the customer acquisition costs there are a lot cheaper than going via something like Instagram to a Shopify page, although we'll be launching that soon. The second thing that we're rolling out is a set of partnerships, and those partnerships take two forms. One is we're forming partnerships with companies that everybody out there wants to tell a message of, having a more balanced work-life environment. And we're speaking to a bunch of companies that allow us to both create content, but also share our drinks in those settings. And then there's a whole lot of other companies that we're talking to as well, yoga companies, home food delivery companies. But our acquisition strategy is really going to be based on Amazon on the one hand, and then partnerships both with corporates and then strategic partners on the other hand.
John Craven, interesting stuff about how Moment developed their packaging, the tactile feel of the can, how they designed it. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on how they did with their label design, and of course, how the product tastes.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think, I really like what I saw in your slide deck. I think there's still a little work to be done in kind of how that actually came out. Specifically, like the bottom of the can and your mock-up kind of looked like bright white, and the can in front of me, it's kind of like matte, and it's a shrink label, and it's a little messed up at the bottom. I'm not totally sold on the kind of reverse hierarchy that you have. Like, I feel like I read this from top down and I start having a lot of questions, starting with like, when you say it's like meditation, I'm thinking, what's in this? Am I going to pass out sort of stuff? But, I give you credit for, what's inside the can is really tasty for, a really low calorie product. So I think, I feel like there are some good pieces here that just maybe need to be assembled slightly differently would be my suggestion. But yeah, nice work.
Awesome. I think, should we call, can we
Sure, absolutely. You can address that. Yep.
Oh yeah, fantastic. So totally got it on the packaging and on, a few tweaks that we need to make just in terms of the finish of the packaging. We've just been kind of running water through the pipes to get going here. So we definitely acknowledge that we can make some improvements there. We've had really, really good feedback in terms of the hierarchy on the packaging. The thing that people kind of have gravitated to or that stands out on the shelf is this idea of drink your meditation. That's kind of the core kind of job to be done that we're selling. And when people see that, I think it evokes enough interest in people that they turn the can around and they want to learn more and they hear about the adaptogens and that kind of thing. So for me, from the research that we've done, we actually found that this drink your meditation at the top does enough to get people to pick up the can and read more.
Yeah, and thank you so much for appreciating the flavor. We've actually spent a lot of time trying to get it to a low calorie count, but ensuring that there's enough flavor that like really hits the mark. So we really appreciate that.
Chuck, I would assume that some people would ask, okay, what time of the day do I drink this product? What's the usage occasion? What are your thoughts on how people would drink this if there's enough time, if there's enough times in the day where you would have the kind of velocity that you would need to pull this product off shelf, not just one time, but several times a day?
I mean, if I'm going to drink this, I'm going to drink it at the end of the day, right? Because I still need my coffee at 1 o'clock after lunch. So I don't think this is going to give me that boost to get me to 5 o'clock, but maybe once I shut my laptop down before you go visit the family, that could be my moment. I think everyone's hitting on the same thing. And, if I put this in the glide racks of any of my customers and that moment gets covered up with inside the display, it's going to be really hard to see. So I think you almost have to move that up or it's going to get lost. But I love drink your meditation and I think you should totally run with that. It looks beautiful and yeah.
Yeah,
Jamie?
I think, all of those are great points. We've actually seen the idea of meditation having its moment right now. And, I think the historical kind of story was that you need to have coffee in the afternoon, but so many more people literally just having a product that says no caffeine on the front is a huge value proposition, at least for our customers. They see it and they're like, this is fantastic. It's not going to affect my sleep. I'm going to be able to get to bed at the same time, at the right time. The really important thing or the really challenging thing we found was finding ingredients that didn't make you drowsy. And none of these ingredients are going to make you drowsy. So, there's some communication that we've got to refine, obviously. But in theory, this should be something that you could have any afternoon just before you go into a meeting. I mean, I had one just before I did this presentation because I was so stressed getting in front of you guys.
Well, I hope you're not stressed now. Jamie, we only have a few seconds left, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, on the potential, the broad market opportunity for a product like this and what you thought of the presentation.
Yeah, I thought the presentation was great. So the packaging is spot on, man. Is it trendy? And I love it. You couldn't have done better as far as the color. The moment at the bottom, you're going to lose out on shelf. You got to move that. That's not going to work. And the meditation angle is interesting, even though I still don't know what the brand, I don't know what it is in there. I think that you have adaptogens and you need to put that on the front of this package. That's a trendy, hot thing. That should land on the front of the package. I think the meditation angle is interesting. Your video, it was somebody dancing, like not meditating. That was interesting. Like she was excited and having fun, but this is meditation. So I was a little confused by that. And the Tulsi lemon was delicious. Really good job on the low sugar as well. And nice job, guys.
All right.
Awesome,
Great feedback. Fahim and Aisha, I'm sorry, we're out of time. We got to keep moving on, but thank you so much. Fantastic presentation.
Thank you so much for all the comments. Really.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. All right. That was Fahim and Aisha from Moments, and we're going to keep on keeping on. Here in the New Beverage Showdown 19 final round. Up next is Quan Yang, who's the CEO of Prickley. Quan, how are you?
Doing well, Ray. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Congratulations on winning the audience vote in the semifinal round of the showdown.
Thank you so much. We've got a strong following behind us. Appreciate it.
Indeed, indeed. Looking forward to hearing your presentation. Are you ready?
Ready since 3:29 Eastern. Absolutely.
Okay. Your 5 minutes begin now.
All right. Welcome to the desert, a wonder of nature sculpted by elegant sand dunes and majestic valleys, embedded within a dry and arid climate with no hope for shade or end in sight. Yet it is within this very ecosystem, this boundless and parched landscape, that you will discover nature's hidden paradise, an oasis for your thirst, in the form of a cactus superfruit that's nourishing, delicious, and incredibly refreshing, the prickly pear. Next slide. We are committed to disrupting the better for you beverage industry by sourcing real prickly pears to create a whimsical line of cactus superfruit waters that are healthy, refreshing, and taste amazing. Prickley is available in slim 12-ounce aluminum cans in 3 incredible flavors: prickly pear, strawberry hibiscus, and mango ginger. Each can is 35 calories with no carbonation or artificial sweeteners, formulated to be just sweet enough that you'll like it, but light enough that you'll love it. Next slide, please. I'm Quan, the CEO of Prickley, and in 2018, we, a group of health-conscious pharmacists, founded Prickley in Boston, Massachusetts. We have proudly bootstrapped our business in full to date, leveraging our 20 combined years of experience in biotech to innovate, test, reiterate, and execute with speed. As you can tell from our names and faces, we are children of the world. We view our diversity as a source of strength, arming us with creativity, grit, and scrappiness needed to successfully pave the way to a healthier and better life for those around us. These images pay homage to version 1, a reminder of the successes and challenges we've overcome to be here today. Next slide, please. So what problem are we solving? Well, as pharmacists, we identified a huge public health gap. Mainstream beverage just isn't healthy. We're all aware that the mainstream market is still dominated by everyday beverages that are neither healthy nor functional. Beverage startups have worked hard to correct this by developing products that are heavy in alt sugars like stevia, or use trendy, novelty ingredients not well understood by the common consumer. These products are often tailored for a niche audience. But let's be honest, the mainstream audience doesn't live on either end of this spectrum. The everyday consumer is what we like to call casually healthy, and they live right in the middle. They don't want soda, but they don't want stevia or the burden of Googling everything either. As healthcare providers, we recognize the time for healthy and functional beverages is now. Healthy is expected, it's desired, and it's right for public health. In fact, healthy has arrived. It's bold, colorful, and whimsical, and it is mainstream. It's Prickley. We crafted Prickley to be the go-to drink for the casually healthy, adults, kids, and everyone in between. Healthy without sacrificing taste, tasty without sacrificing health. It's just right. Next slide, please. Equally healthy as they are tasty, prickly pears replenish the body with natural electrolytes and antioxidants. Prickly pears have been shown in clinical studies to minimize liver damage as well as improve muscle recovery. This is attributed to the role that antioxidants within the prickly pear superfruit play in our bodies, helping to remove toxins from food, pollution, and chemical degradation. Next slide, please. From extensive signal testing and research, we know our target audience trends female and shops for themselves as opposed to buying for household. This is evidenced by the U-shaped curve where our brand has tested at highest engagement and conversion rates. They're sophisticated, willing to invest in casual health and wellness, and care about sustainability, just like us. Next slide, please. From a retail traction standpoint, we launched our cans 11 months ago and have secured retail placement in 80 locations in the Northeast, across 2 distribution partners, 1 local, 1 regional. We expect 4 to 5x growth year to year over the next 3 years, focusing on regional expansion before nationwide growth in year 4. Shout out to all the buyers. Next slide, please. We're very, very excited about e-commerce. We launched on Amazon in December and have already seen steady month-to-month growth amongst positive reviews, and have also been working diligently since February, even before COVID, on our nationwide e-commerce launch set at the end of this month. We're pretty social too, with a presence on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well, where we hit our first 1 million view video last week. Next slide, please. Lastly, being a pharmacist-founded company, we have a social responsibility to leverage our platform to educate. Prickley RX is an umbrella offering of digital assets, including blog posts, educational videos, and additional above-brand content that offer our Cactus Club community members a daily dose of health and wellness. Next slide, please. So drink Prickley and taste the oasis. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
All right, well done, Quan. Let's hear what the judges have to say about the presentation and Prickley. Jamie, I have a feeling that you've done a lot of presentations in front of investors, retailers, distributors. How would you evaluate Quan's presentation? What are some of the strengths? What are some of the weaknesses? What are some of the things that you wanted to hear more about?
What I'm super interested in is, what's the price point of this, Quan?
Yeah, so we launched, this is at no scale, at retail of $2.99. And some stores will sell 2 for $5 as well.
Yeah, got it. I think that's right. It was interesting as you were talking. I think I feel a little bit better about what cactus fruit water is. Yeah. But I think it's a little confusing. I look at the package and I look at the artwork, and I almost feel like looking at maybe doing real fruit versus the caricature fruit, because I really don't know what it is. Now that you've talked about it, I feel like I get it a little bit more, and I wonder if, when you look at the front of the label, you only see Prickley Superfruit, and to the left is where you talk about all the good things about it. I wonder if there's a spot to put it somewhere up the top. The other thing is interesting is this is done by pharmacists, which I didn't quite get until I heard you talk. Also wondering if you put Prickley RX on the front, if that would help as well. Interesting concept, and the taste was actually quite good. I really liked the mango ginger, super light and very tasty.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Appreciate it.
All right, Chuck, you're no stranger to superfruit infused beverages, and we've seen cactus pear, prickly pear beverages in the past. What are your thoughts on the runway for a brand like Prickley? Chuck, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Oops. Sorry, rookie judge. So we've got, I think the packaging is a little feminized, so you're kind of cutting down your market, which I think you understand as well. Some of with the other contestants, I have a hard time just getting flat water out of a can. So you might want to look at other formats. Water's totally fine, but getting it, I'm expecting bubbles in a can. I don't know if that's just how I've grown up and what I've trained to be, but for me, sometimes it's just a little short when it's flat in a can. And I was also thinking with the title Prickley that there was going to be some kind of spice or bite into it. So it lacked a little prick for me. But otherwise, I think it's a good entry. I think you can get some runway. I think you can get some customer feedback out of the gate with it. Yeah, no, appreciate that. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Serby, I asked one of the semifinal judges this question. What do you think of the positioning of Prickley as a superfruit water? And I'd also love to hear your thoughts on the Prickley RX program platform that Quan was talking about.
Yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting concept. Similar to my colleague, I think it's great that you branded it as a superfruit water instead of saying cactus water or some sort of plant water, because that allows you more leeway to potentially make a master brand out of Prickley and have more extensions versus just being limited on one ingredient. And I love the RX extension of the blog, and that was actually something I was wondering as well. I have to admit, I had to Google prickly pears to see what the benefits actually were. I know you have the call outs on the can as well, but would love to hear what other kind of consumer education that you think needs to be done so that consumers are aware of the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, we're coming from a pharmacist angle too, so we hold it to ourselves to educate on a lot of things above brand as well, right? Even just health and wellness in general. And so our Prickley RX is a platform. It's going to have digital assets like games, blog posts, as well as like a whole suite of TikTok videos, Bill Nye inspired, especially from our chief science officer, to educate on things around Prickley, around health and wellness, around exercise. And again, we're really trying to hit that really broad mainstream market. And, you know, as Chuck mentioned, in some ways it comes off feminine in some design aspects, right? And for us, it's a good thing. You know, I mean, we're a team of five males, right? So it's nice to have that additional touch and perspective. And we recognize that. And so a lot of our branding and beyond is going to move away from that as well, just to become a little bit more balanced. But, you know, we believe the RX piece is really important to us. It's why it's on our can. It's also central to a lot of the sort of philanthropy that we'll try to do, including some other programs that we can talk, you know, more about, like Hydration for Health, where we're donating to pharmacies in the Boston area, all under the Prickley RX umbrella. So that's kind of how we see it.
John, as I mentioned earlier in my question to Chuck, you know, we've seen different prickly pear beverages come to market, cactus water, et cetera. You know, some have done better than others. You know, what do you think of Prickley in terms of how it's differentiated from those products and its positioning as it stands?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real challenge, just evidenced by the other judges who had to go out and Google it. You know, I feel like, you know, going back to something Chuck said, this being sort of a still product, like I think it would probably be pretty good as a sparkling product and put you in an area that the product might just need a little less explanation. Totally agree with what you said in your presentation about, you know, not having stevia and all that. Like, this is just like tasty drink that like isn't that bad for you, right? And I think lastly, I would just caution, you know, I think it's awesome that you're a bunch of pharmacists that kind of met and created this company. I guess I look at, you know, Prickley as the brand is sort of fun. RX pharmacist, no offense, not fun. So I guess I kind of worry that that might just be something that, you know, you could go a little softer with and just more use it online to sort of speak about, you know, health and wellness without eliminating the fun factor of it.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I mean, the pharmacist piece is what we tested. And when we tested our brand to see what resonated with our audience, the pharmacy piece actually was a really top resonator. That's how we realized that the audience that we reach out to is a sophisticated audience. They care about health and wellness. They care about business and science as well. So all of this fed into the development of these pieces. We try to, again, take a very scientific approach towards our development as a business. It has to be tested. It's not just off of a hunch. So I think these are all really, really fantastic points, and, you know, certainly ways that we can kind of continue to improve it and even soften it up in that grand scheme of things. But definitely appreciate that. And one last thing I would say is sparkling is definitely in our future. You know, it's certainly, you guys have pointed it out, it's absolutely a place of innovation for us and further SKU lines once we go out this product. So.
All right, great stuff. Quan, clearly John hasn't partied with pharmacists before, but you know, maybe after the quarantine is over. Quan, thank you so much. Great job with your presentation. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
All right, let's move on to our third finalist of the day. That's Celeste Perez, who's the CEO and co-founder of Dewdrop. Celeste, how are you?
I'm good. Ready.
Great to see you again. You're ready? Okay. Well, let's get to your presentation. Your 5 minutes will begin now.
All right. Well, this starts a few years ago when I found myself dealing with the effects of burnout. I wasn't sleeping well. I was getting sick all the time. I felt low energy. And I also was drinking about 5 cups of coffee a day, which led to palpitations. So my wellness was at such a low that I collapsed and ended up having to wear a heart monitor at work. Turns out all of that was stress. So stress isn't just a mind thing, it has physical effects too. And adaptogens can help regulate and reduce stress. And when I tried them, the results were so unbelievable that I actually quit everything to start Dewdrop. Next slide. So Dewdrop is a line of sparkling beverages made with stress balancing, immunity boosting, mood lifting adaptogens and superfoods. The goal is to provide women with self-care experiences through beautiful packaging and also our elegant flavors. Next slide. So I mentioned on Tuesday that 79% of Americans say they feel stressed out daily, and women are twice as likely to feel those physical effects of stress. And just like my girl in this image, 50% of women also say that they make poor food choices when they're stressed out. So Dewdrop wants to make it easier for women to make healthier choices, starting with a simple beverage break. Next slide. So we're addressing stress from a nutritional perspective using plant magic. Plant medicine is not a trend, it's tradition, especially in cultures like mine. So I'm Filipino American, and even though I come from a line of MDs, we're still eating ginger and moringa and citrus when we're getting sick and feeling that way. Why? It works. So we know that the average consumer still needs to learn about adaptogens, but we've tried to keep it simple. Just one adaptogen per flavor, bolstered by ingredients that support each adaptogen's purpose. Next slide. So what makes us different? Well, it comes down to three things. It's texture, taste, and tone. Our products have a unique texture. They're smoother with a little more weight than a typical sparkling beverage. They have a cleaner mouthfeel, and we also cater the carbonation to each flavor's purpose. If you want to feel calm, you're probably not going to want too many bubbles. Next, we offer a unique spin on taste. A lot of adaptogen products fall on a spectrum. Is it dirt or is it herby? I personally couldn't do either. The flavor is the most important factor when it comes to making healthy food habits. And our flavors were developed by my co-founder, Adrian, who's a food scientist behind Wanderlust Creamery. So yeah, this has yuzu and ginger and mushroom in it, but it's not the mushroom you're going to taste. We're also setting a different tone for our consumers through branding and content, which I'll get back to later. Next slide. So here are the hard facts about Dewdrop. We built aromatherapy into our blends. Even just the scent of yuzu can reduce PMS symptoms. On Tuesday, a judge commented that our packaging looks like it belongs in the feminine care aisle, but that's actually a market opportunity because it is feminine care. I mean, that doesn't mean that men won't enjoy it too, but that's also something that we're thinking of. We also use whole fruit juices and pulps instead of extracts and flavorings because they're prebiotic and help the body digest phytonutrients better. Next slide. So as for our flavor profile, this isn't your average drink with a few drops of flavoring. While that makes an acceptable product with high margins, we anticipate that consumers will shift from wanting 0 calories to nutrient-dense indulgences. Next slide. So back to tone. We're seeing that consumers no longer identify with big corporate brands that don't have an authentic voice. So we know we can't just be putting out products and capitalizing on trends and exploiting resources. Businesses will need to be authentic to thrive in the new normal. So we're creating the content that's kind of missing from the beverage and wellness space. And that's a podcast that features women of color in the health and wellness industry, along with relatable content like horoscopes and articles about health and fitness. We're also making activism part of our voice from day one. So since we launched in March, we've donated over 3,000 cans to local food banks and delivered meals to LA's most vulnerable during quarantine. And the packaging, though it skews feminine, there is so much power in that. So next slide. We designed our packaging to stand out on shelves and thrive in a direct-to-consumer Instagram environment. And though we launched during COVID with traditional retail up in the air, we've actually had the chance to engage and transact with our DTC audience on our website, heydewdrop.com. Next slide. All right. I'd like to introduce you to our squad. We're 100% female owned and operated. Our board of advisors are all women with street cred in their own industries. Whether it's beverage, entertainment, or functional medicine, they're moms with hustle, entrepreneurs, MDs, MBAs, CEOs themselves. So we're building a team that really cares about this product and the market we serve and the problem we're solving. The beverage aisle needs balance, so we need to make some space for Dewdrop. That's
all right,
it.
Celeste. Well done. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Chuck, I'd love to start with you. You know, as Celeste mentioned, this is sort of a feminine leaning product in terms of its packaging and positioning. As a distributor, is that a good thing? Chuck, you're muted again. I'm sorry, my friend.
Sorry. It's a tough thing because I just want to make one comment that the flavor and quality you can taste like instantly. So I think this is like a really, really well formulated brand. The dragon fruit, I mean, the passion fruit and the cacao, I would never think to blend together, and it actually works. So I'm actually disappointed that it's so feminine targeted, because if I would never pick this up off the shelf and I'd be deprived of such goodness. So I think it is a challenge to just go for that. And I think it's like almost too beautiful artwork, right? Like I want to know why I should pick this up a little bit more. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Jamie, Celeste talked about texture, taste, and tone as being critical elements of Dewdrop. Did each of those come through in the in the product and the presentation as well?
Product is great. I agree with Chuck. Really, really tasty stuff. Well done on the ingredients. Your presentation was outstanding. You started with your story. You talked about what the issue was, and then you had to solve for the issue. I thought that was outstanding. I think it's too feminine. I think you're just half of the audience isn't going to pick this up, as Chuck said. And I wonder, the issue is that the pretty happy and the stuff at the bottom is so little. It's not only hard to read, but it's going to get lost on the shelf. I think you got to move that somewhere. You talked about plant magic. I love that. I wish that was more prominent on the packaging. Again, you have adaptogens and aromatherapy, and again, I don't see that on the packaging. So it's I don't exactly know what I'm drinking when I look at it and pick it up. I don't know why to pick it up, except for watching your presentation, but I don't know why from the packaging. And what's your price point, by the way?
Our price point right now, because we're completely DTC, is $5.99 per can.
Ouch.
I know. Well, we're hoping to scale it back because when we scale up, it'll be way better. And also hopefully when we get to retail.
Okay.
John, we're seeing a lot of beverage brands play up or introduce adaptogenic ingredients into their products. How do you think Dewdrop did from that standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good stuff in there. Totally agree with everyone else. I mean, the flavor of these, really nice job on them. I think it kind of like what Jamie said. I mean, I think this just needs to be explained better. I kind of didn't really know what it was going to be like. Honestly, like the names sounded really functional to me. Like I was expecting it to taste like a functional drink, but there's some really complex flavor in there. And I think for products that are, modest in calories, it's super impressive. And I would just otherwise, echo what other people said about, the branding looking maybe a little too feminine, but I would also just kind of think about, quickly communicating like what the flavor is. Like pretty bright doesn't really tell me that much, and I would just think about trying to appeal to people's senses a little bit more, especially when you do go into retail.
Mm-hmm.
And Serby, we heard Celeste talk about her backstory, her personal experience that led to the creation of Dewdrop. How much does that play into your mindset when you're thinking about aligning with early stage brands?
It definitely makes a difference. I think having a strong founder story and a mission just lends to passion behind the creation of the brand, which then automatically lends into the business case, which we ultimately look at in terms of profitability and scalability and it's having that brand edge. So I think without the strong founder and the passionate story, you automatically obviously don't get those business fundamentals working as well.
And I saw you nodding when John was talking about, calling out the flavors. What do you think that Celeste could do to augment what they currently have on the can?
Yeah, so it's funny because I had the exact same thought. I wasn't sure really what to expect besides some indications of white peach or yuzu, but they tasted wonderful. And at the same time, though, I liked that there was a specific purpose for each formulation, which comes out in your current naming convention. But I do think it would help for mainstream consumers to see some sort of familiar flavor that they could recognize as they're looking at the can. And the other thing I'll quickly add is I also like the QR code you had on the back where you can learn more about the adaptogens, because for people in our world, we all have some idea of what each functionality is. But I think for the general consumer, it helps give them that extra consumer education.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually why we did it so lightly, or put the flavor so lightly at the bottom, is because not a lot of people know what ashwagandha is, and not a lot of people know what reishi mushroom is. And we don't want to turn them off based on just those ideas. Perhaps they're going to pick it up just because the can looks pretty. And that's why we decided to do this way, especially because we know we're going to have to do a lot of social media and education in order to get people to try something like an adaptogen drink. But at the same time, we didn't want it to be too functional or taste that way, because it's possible to make this part of your daily routine in a way that's exciting.
Not everyone knows what ashwagandha and reishi mushroom is. See, the only people I talk to are in the beverage industry, so that must be the reason why everyone seems to know it in my circle.
Right.
So, anyway, Celeste, great stuff, great presentation. Good luck with everything going forward. Hopefully, we'll see you in person really soon.
Thank you.
All right, Celeste Perez, the co-founder and CEO of Dewdrop. All right, up next, we have Susan Buckwalter, who's the co-founder of Recoup Beverage. And then the other co-founder, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. It's not on my sheet here.
Siwat Sensenno.
Siwat, thank you so much for joining us today. You guys ready to present?
We are.
All right, your 5 minutes will begin now.
Hi, I'm Susan. There we go. Hi, I'm Susan, and I'm co-founder of Recoup. Recoup is the only beverage on the market that delivers ginger-powered hydration and health. Slide 2, please. Every bottle has 2 teaspoons of pressed organic ginger, and that's the amount clinically proven to boost immunity, muscle recovery, and digestion. For us, we found that the beverage industry was a personal passion, and it was an area that was really important to us. We're both health enthusiasts and former college athletes, and we saw a clear consumer need in the hydration space. For us and our target, wellness-minded millennials, there were few options for after a workout, a time when you're actually most connected to your body. Slide 3, please. So we created Recoup, a beverage that goes beyond hydration to offer health benefits, taking elements from the fast-moving kombucha and functional shot category and taking them into hydration, which is a multi-billion-dollar market with slow and steady growth. Slide 4, please. We developed Recoup with a focus on the consumer. We use clean ingredients, 7 all-natural, healthy ingredients, nothing artificial, no processed sugar or stevia, and 60 to 80 calories per bottle. We're focused on benefits that the consumer cares about: muscle recovery, gut health, immunity, and hydration. And we're plant-powered, using 100% plant-derived ingredients, including ginger, which is a powerful adaptogen, and sustainably harvested organic tree water, which has 46 bioactive minerals, nutrients, and amino acids. For me, working out is just an extension of my healthy lifestyle, and I wanted a beverage that I can enjoy after yoga or surfing that felt like a continuation of that, not a compromise. We developed Recoup for fitness, not football practice. Recoup's perfect for a muscle-intensive workout like bar, Pilates, or strength training, promoting muscle recovery and hydration without artificial empty calories. With that, I'll pass it over to Siwat to share a little bit more about his journey.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everyone. The origins of Recoup go all the way back to my childhood healthcare experiences. Please place slide 5. On the left is a New York Times article about me as a toddler. I spent the first few years of my life in a hospital, and by the age of 12, I'd undergone 10 major surgeries. My mother's ginger-based remedies played a big part in my recovery, and the memories of these home remedies inspired me to create Recoup. In the years to come, I'd pursue a degree in physiology, and during this time, I discovered numerous studies using a dose of 2 teaspoons of ginger to promote muscle recovery, digestion, and immunity. From there, I started working on the first version of Recoup in the kitchen of my tiny Manhattan studio. Susan, I'd like to pass it back on to you.
Thanks. Together, Siwat and I developed Recoup with a mission to help people feel better and live well. We wanted to develop a business that could thrive and a brand that people loved. Slide 6, please. We created 3 delicious ginger-powered flavors, each distinct. We have a juicy watermelon blood orange, a fresh cucumber lemon, and a tropical pineapple coconut. We use natural, sustainably sourced ingredients, including Peruvian ginger, organic local tree water, and wildflower honey, which actually adds a nice sweetness to balance out the fresh juice and spicy ginger. Recoup is shelf stable, and it retails for $3.99 to $4.49. Next slide, please. We've had excellent traction so far in natural and gourmet grocers in the tri-state area, and in fitness studios and office buildings before COVID. We actually have quite a cult following there. Online, we have great repeat purchases with our subscription services, and we're building our community on social media. Community has always been a really important part of our mission, and a lot of our retailers are affected with COVID right now, so we have been reaching out and creating spotlights to build them into our community and help promote small businesses during this difficult time. Throughout our channels, we have great feedback on our product. And I'll wrap up by showing our slide with some consumer reviews. If you go to the next slide, thank you. We have amazing advocates from fitness trainers to yoga instructors to weekend warriors, all who love the refreshing kick of ginger and the muscle recovery and other benefits that Recoup delivers. So give us a try and experience for yourself the power of ginger-powered hydration and health. Thank you.
All right, well done, Susan and Siwat. Let's turn it over to the judges. John Craven, as I mentioned on Tuesday, we're big ginger fanatics here in the office. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on whether the flavor aligns with the function as described by Susan and Siwat.
I think so. The ginger flavor, it's there, it lingers, but it's not like too spicy. You could definitely kind of gulp this stuff down. My feedback on the flavor, which I guess is more packaging related, is I would just love it to stand out more. It's kind of buried in there. But I feel like these are three like pretty good products. You have to like ginger, first of all, but I don't know. It's an interesting approach where like the base of the product is ginger as opposed to like some ginger drinks like ginger burning your face off, which this is not that, thankfully. So nice job on that.
All right. Serby, Susan talked about Recoup sort of living in that intersection of health and hydration. What do you think of that positioning?
We're seeing a rise of athletic wellness as sort of a trend where people are looking for holistic products that are for workout recovery, but with that extra added functionality, whether that's gut health or stress relief or what have you. But I think, so what's a little bit confusing for me is in a lot of your positioning, you talk about workout recovery, but there aren't really cues on the packaging that signal workout recovery. And as we think about consumers looking for those beverages, they often look for protein as well. So just curious, as you think about your target consumer being very purposeful in your communication, and I know you mentioned this isn't for the football player, but I think oftentimes when people hear workout recovery, they envision something completely different.
Susan Siwat, you want to comment?
Sure. So I agree that there is definitely a space for protein-based workout recovery, and who knows, maybe that's something Recoup looks at further down the road. But what we saw is in hydration, there was really a lack of healthy products with benefits. And so that's the positioning that we are working in and we're owning right now. We think that there's a place for something that's refreshing and still has natural functional benefits.
Chuck, is there room for a product like this on store shelves, sort of at that intersection of a fitness drink / a hydration drink? I mean, as a distributor, what do you think of this kind of a product?
I think there's definitely a lot of room for this on premise at gyms, yogas, cafes. For Recoup, you would be hoping that person would come to the grocery store and maybe buy a 12-pack and keep it at their house, which is totally feasible. So I do think there is room. Just some of the comments. I think the flavoring is really good. The ginger is like perfectly dialed. I do like ginger anyway, so it's right there. But I think if they're going into this athletic rehydration space, maybe they should explore a bigger format in a 16 ounce, because they're going to be next to a lot of big 16 ounce players, and people might not think they're going to get the value at $3.99. So just something to consider.
And Jamie, we heard a lot about Siwat's backstory and how it played into the formulation and the creation of this brand, the formulation of the product and the creation of this brand. How much of that would resonate with you as potentially an investor or a retailer?
I think the story is fantastic. Actually, Siwat, you should start. You should be, when you do your pitch, you should talk about your story first and then talk about the rest of the brand. Your story's great. It's got a strong ginger recovery. I love that. It makes me want to try it, Billy Goat. The water. Okay, two things I want to say. You had my favorite flavor and my worst flavor in one package. So the pineapple was beyond delicious. The watermelon was beyond bad. And my thought for you would be just to look at those and just make sure that you don't have any flavors that are going to turn somebody on or off so bad. But it was pretty rough for me. And by the way, your bottle shape is outstanding. So I think the packaging that you picked is really good. Maybe go to a 16 ounce is awesome. The long ways was fine for your name, but then the functional part for the long ways was it was hard to read. I didn't quite get it. So I needed to hear the story to try it. Now that I know the story, I want to try it, but I'm not sure I could have gotten that from the package.
And to address that, I think that we do have, this is generation 1 of packaging, and we agree that the flavors especially came out a little bit softer than we would have liked. So we are working on that, and we appreciate that feedback. What's funny is watermelon is actually our best-selling flavor. And so we find that people tend to have a visceral favorite, but they don't necessarily like all three. So that's just how it goes. And we hope that we at least have a wide enough range that we make everybody happy.
Well, and seriously, don't listen to everybody. Everybody's got an opinion. You got to figure out what you want and go for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Jamie definitely had a visceral favorite, but maybe not one that wasn't so visceral in terms of being favorite. See what, Susan, it's been so great having you on the new Beverage Showdown. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Great job with your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Our 5th finalist of the round is Rosa Lee, who's the CEO of Wild Wonder. Rosa, how are you?
Good, Ray. How are you?
I'm great. I tried your product. I know I did. I said I didn't try it during the semifinal round. I apologize for that, but I did try it, as have all of our judges, and they're excited to hear your presentation. Are you ready?
I am.
All right. Your 5 minutes begin now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rosa. I'm the founder and CEO of Wild Wonder, healing drinks that lift you to create everyday wonders. We are a wellness beverage formulated for immune and gut health using the highest quality organic and vegan functional ingredients, including probiotics, prebiotics, and functional herbs. Next slide, please. If there's one thing we take away from the pandemic, is that our immune health is so critical to our daily lives. And 80% of our immune system is actually in our gut. Nowadays, we don't only see food as something that feeds us, but also as something that can heal. And this is why functional beverages like kombucha are the fastest growing segment of non-alcoholic beverages. Next slide, please. Here's a cuter version of me. Growing up, my grandma brewed these herbal tonics that are great for my health, but man, they're hard to swallow. And if you never smelled or tasted Eastern herbal medicine, you missed out on a character building experience. I'm a huge foodie, and I don't believe we need to give up taste for health. My grandma instilled in me the appreciation for food as medicine. So after I graduated from Stanford Business School, I wanted to do something that I'm personally passionate about. So that's make functional ingredients that naturally heal our body fun and accessible to the masses. Before Wild Wonder, I had built a loose leaf tea business, and I'm very knowledgeable about herbs and formulating drinks. Because our lives are so busy, it's a tall ask to really get consumers to brew their own functional drinks. So I decided to make ready-to-drink beverages that are both delicious and beneficial. Next slide, please. More importantly, Wild Wonder brings whimsy and clarity into a rather serious functional category through both our packaging and our messaging. We are here to inspire goodness and lift people up. Our mission is to create wonder in everyday life and for those undervoiced in our community. 5% of profit from every bottle goes to female and minority causes. And this is our line of prebiotic and probiotic sparkling infusions. Our healthy gut bacteria need both to really effectively function. Among all functional beverages, or among all functional ingredients, prebiotics and probiotics are the fastest growing. We all know that gut health is big and growing, but it's not always just going to be kombucha. Consumers now understand the importance of gut health. I don't need to tell you guys the stats, and are looking for alternatives in the functional beverage set. But there's really limited options outside of kombucha right now. Next slide, please. So we are here to deliver gut and immune health in a new and exciting way. Our products are formulated with plant fiber, live vegan probiotics, and functional herbs, all organic and non-GMO. They come in a 13.5 ounce glass bottle with only 4 to 7 grams of sugar in an entire bottle, and no refined sugar. We blend monk fruit and maple syrup with juice in a very balanced way, so it satisfies people's sweet tooth, but also keeps the sugar level low. We also take pride in our clean ingredients. Everything in the bottle is here for a reason, with no fillers, no coloring, and no artificial or natural flavors. Next slide, please. We launched our brand on International Women's Day back in March this year, and within a short couple of months, we gained a lot of momentum and signed with 6 distributors covering California for both the natural grocery side and also the offices and food service side. We are stocked in more than 30 natural independent accounts now. Last month, we even launched with Whole Foods NorCal and on our e-commerce platform. While our focus is on the natural grocery channel, we have a very differentiated 2-pronged distribution strategy. We partner with food service and offices to drive trial and build brand awareness, and we have partnerships set in place with over 250 offices in California. Despite being a young brand, and we rock a 40% margin. Next slide, please. We have a very active community on social media. Our consumers are health conscious, food engaged millennials and older Gen Z that seek the next wave of wellness beverage. They prioritize function as much as taste. They also seek a brand to educate and inspire as well as contribute back to good causes. But don't just listen to me. Here's what our customers are saying and posting about us on social media. They love the fact that we are mission driven, the only drink with both prebiotics and probiotics all in one bottle, delicious and nourishing at the same time. Final slide, please. We are a brand that knows healing can be delicious, fun, and giving, and we look forward to bringing a new perspective in a big and growing category. Thank you.
All right, great stuff. Serby, let's start with you. Rosa talks a lot about how Wild Wonder is one of the few, if only, beverages with prebiotic and probiotic ingredients in one bottle. How much of an impact do you think that has for the everyday consumer when they're looking for functional beverages?
I think the education surrounding prebiotic and probiotic is rising. I think there's still some misconceptions. People often think it's the same thing, and they don't realize that they're actually different parts that help with the gut health. So I think there's still some consumer education that needs to happen there. But I have seen a gaining popularity in this hybrid approach of prebiotic and probiotic. And self-care is becoming the new normal when it comes to immunity and gut health. So I'm only assuming the consumers will research more and more and learn more themselves. Quick question, if I'm allowed to ask one. You mentioned a lot about your distribution strategy when it came to retail and then more of the office on-premise. Curious about your e-commerce distribution strategy given the shift to e-commerce in the past couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, in response to the pandemic and sheltering in place, we quickly launched to e-commerce, and people have been buying. It's a really great way to get direct consumer feedback. And that is something that we do want to focus on going forward. Having said that, I do think it's important to have different channels working at the same time. With retail and as when offices come back, after sheltering in place, as well as e-commerce. And so that way we really have different touch points to the consumer.
Jamie, Wild Wonder feels like one of kombucha's children in some ways, sort of offshoot of the growth of that category, a sparkling super herb infusion. What do you think of the positioning of this product and this brand in relation to an established and mature category like kombucha?
I like it. I still think kombucha turns people off and they don't know what it is, or they've tried it and they don't like it. So I actually think that not having it on there it could be a plus. I think that I really like, first off, the product tastes good. It's crisp and light. It's like a good summer drink. Like the ginger peach was really good. Like the carbonation. Packaging is super informational. I feel like I know what I'm drinking. I know that it's carbonated. I know that there's superfoods in there. Prebiotic, probiotic, I think is an interesting play. I think it'll only grow. You don't call out how many, so I don't know what that means. I just know you have some in there. Tell me that, I like the low sugar and the clean ingredients. Tell me the price point again, if you.
Yeah, it's priced at $3.99 per bottle in retail, so it's priced to the functional set, very competitive with the rest of the set.
Yeah, good. I like your story too. I thought your presentation was great.
Thank you.
John, Rosa talked about Wild Wonder bringing whimsy and clarity to a serious category. Do you see that? Do you feel that way as well?
Yeah, I mean, this feels like super approachable. Like it's not, you know, I don't know, kind of preaching to you about functionality. And, you know, I know this was a rebranded product too. Like it looks super good. And, you know, I would agree with Jamie. I mean, it's like, you know, this is just like a crisp, light drink that, again, not beating you over the head with functionality. And I guess I would probably like to see even though I just said not beating you over the head with functionality, I think I would like to see the prebiotic and probiotic stand out a little more than like the super urban fusion, because super urban fusion is going to require like a lot of explanation. Whereas the thing that, you know, there is awareness about is a little too small, I think. But no, I mean, great job on these.
Thank you.
And Chuck, you know, let's say Rosa was pitching you as a distributor and sent you her deck. Are there some elements of the deck that you want to know more about? Do you have any questions for Rosa in terms of her business strategy going forward?
First question I'd ask her is, where do you want us to merchandise this? Like, what set do you think? Is this functional beverage near the juices? Is this in the kombuchas, or is it in the teas? So where is it working well for her in her current set? You know, I'd echo what people say. This is a really nice, approachable label. I think I would definitely I would pick it up, but one thing that might hold me back is understanding what a super herb infusion is like. So maybe it's just something totally new, but it's not. There is a tea SKU, whatever. But back to my question, where would you want this merchandised?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. This should be merchandised in the functional set. So it's next to a kombucha or kavita, which is a sparkling probiotic drink, and water kefirs. We are specifically targeting gut health. So that's kind of an alternative to kombucha for those who are who haven't been accustomed to that vinegary taste. So this kind of brings in a lot of new customers who want to do something for their gut health, but don't like that vinegary taste. So it's kind of like a step function to kombucha and water kefir.
All right, great stuff, Rosa. Well done with your presentation, and good luck with everything going forward.
Thank you.
All right. Our final presenter of the final round is Adam Lewis, who is the founder and CEO of Mera. Adam, how are you? Do we have Adam? No, Adam's missing, actually. See, this is why I should always look at the screen before I actually introduce someone. No, there he is. Adam Lewis, the founder and CEO of Mera. You're on mute. If you're off mute, then we can get started. There you go. How are you, Adam?
I'm great, Ray.
Great to see you again. You prepared? You had 2 minutes in the semis. You have 5 minutes now. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it indeed. Your 5 minutes begin now.
Hello, BevNet and everyone watching. My name is Adam Lewis. I'm the founder of Mera, and I love coffee. When I make coffee, I use a temperature-controlled gooseneck kettle, a scale, conical bird grinder, and always only the finest of coffee beans. Unfortunately, I'm not a morning person, so keeping up with my coffee snobbery while making it into the office on time often proved a struggle for me. This is what led to me on this journey of creating Mera. Premium, Japanese-style, flash-chilled coffee in a can. Next slide, please. The concept of canned coffee was invented by a passionate coffee shop owner by the name of Mr. Mera Yoshitake back in the 1960s. He's our namesake and our inspiration. He created a lasting innovation that now exists as the global category of RTD coffee. Mera Yoshitake was the innovator and pioneer that we now aspire to be as a brand and as a company. Slide. Mera marries the convenience of canned coffee with the experience and flavor of a premium barista-crafted drink. We launched our inaugural products in late 2018, the Classic and Nitro Flash Chilled coffees. The Classic is a straight black, samurai smooth, cold coffee experience in a can, which one semi-final judge referred to as the most sensorial coffee he's ever had. We use a fair trade organic bean from Honduras, roasted right here in Toronto, whose tasting notes are emphasized by our proprietary brewing process. And the ingredients, coffee and water. That's it. The Nitro is a variant of the classic black coffee with infused nitrogen, providing that silkier, stout-like texture and mouthfeel that has been popularized and widely spread thanks largely to Starbucks. Slide. So what is flash chilled? Brewing coffee hot and then chilling it immediately. This preserves the flavors and aromatics that are lost in other iced coffee methods. Cold brew, on the other hand, involves steeping coffee grounds in cold water for long periods of time, thus relying on this time rather than heat for extracting flavor. I'm obviously biased towards one of these methods, The use of heat in the brewing process releases flavors that cold water alone cannot. And for many like myself who are on the continuous pursuit of flavor, this is very important. But there's more. What makes our process so special is the precision involved every step of the way necessary for proper flavor extraction. We found the optimal volumes, temperatures, steep times, and other variables to develop our patent-pending brew process. We embrace this challenge of educating consumers on this unique process, as it's a challenge that inherently comes with creating something new and innovative, as we have done. Slide. Our aspirations did not stop with coffee. We've applied our craft brewing technique to matcha tea, made with the highest quality, organic, ceremonial-grade matcha powder. It's a great alternative for non-coffee drinkers or just those wanting to try something different. Slide. We've also developed plant-based coffee and matcha lattes. We use oat milk, a dairy alternative taking cafes by storm and a barista favorite. Our lattes are made with all natural ingredients and just lightly sweetened with a pinch of stevia and coconut sugar. Next slide, please. Coffee and tea aren't trendy. There's a controversial statement for you, but it's true. They're not trendy. They've been popular for centuries. Coffee and tea have consistently adapted to people's evolving needs and desires. Even amidst this pandemic, as the world and therefore consumer behaviors are changing in big ways, we've seen RTD coffee continue to show promising growth and resilience. Next slide, please. We love our branding. It's a proud homage to my own Japanese heritage and to the Japanese origins of our brewing process. It captures the essence of the product and captivates the target market that we've been engaging with. We're targeting the market of millennial coffee aficionados who know good coffee and want access to it outside of the cafe or the home kitchen. These are consumers who are health conscious, care about clean ingredients and flavor. Those looking for an energy boost, but aren't likely to reach for an energy drink or other sugar-laden alternatives. Next slide, please. Since late 2018, we've launched into 140 stores across Southern Ontario, including some of Canada's most reputable retailers and online outlets. Our cans are priced at $3.99 sweet little Canadian dollars, which is quite affordable. We're trying to partner with the right people to reach our target market and grow our brand, while also gaining exposure through notable events and media outlets locally, and even as far as some Chinese publications that have picked us up. Next slide, please. Just as coffee and tea have persisted through history, Mera is a brand that will remain relevant through this changing landscape. In a time when one's morning routine has changed, no longer going from home to the cafe to the office, but rather from the bed to the kitchen to the home office desk, we find consumers reaching for Mera for their barista quality caffeine hit. We're ready for a shift in changing consumer behavior. Innovations in our DNA, we intend on continuing to learn and deliver beverages that suit and shape consumers' demand. Final slide, please. Once again, our cans feature the symbol of a torii gate, a gateway found at the entrance to Japanese shrines, symbolizing the transition from the mundane to the sacred. It's a transformation the world needs now more than ever, and we really hope that Mera can fuel this journey. Thank you so much, guys, and arigatou gozaimasu.
Well done, Adam. Great presentation. All right, let's see what the judges have to think of Mera and your presentation. Chuck, let's start with you. You know, obviously a very crowded, competitive category in coffee. Does Mera have enough to stand out in terms of its positioning as a flash chilled coffee?
Well, they're standing out because I've never seen a Japanese cold brew, or I'm sorry, hot flash brew, or any kind of Japanese RTD coffee come across my desk. So they get originality points for that. But I'm sorry if I missed it in the presentation, but was it the Miru, the original man? Did he find this technique of the hot, or that's yours, and the brand is just an homage to him?
That's correct. Yeah, he invented the concept of putting coffee in a can, but the brewing style we'd adopted from what was invented by Japanese baristas.
Okay. Yeah, I think the packaging is pretty unique. I think we got the old packaging.
Yeah, that's right. I was.
And I think we only got the classic, so I'd be really excited to try the other two SKUs. But I think it is a pretty good entry, and it could work.
Thanks.
Serby, Adam already outlined a pretty developed innovation pipeline for Mera. How important is that to you when you're evaluating brands and their potential for long-term success?
It's very important. We want to make sure that the brand has thought ahead, and that's why we really look for something with a master brand potential. We want to make sure it's not just a one ingredient product, but that can really stretch across categories. And with his lineup, he's already showing both coffee and tea. And I love the heritage tie-in as well, and the package looks very premium. Nice job.
Thank you so much, Serby. Innovation is in our DNA. It's fun.
Jamie, are you a coffee drinker? And if so, you know, what do you think of the taste of this product and also the packaging? I know you have the old packaging, but if you're looking at the slides, if you looked at Adam's presentation, what do you think about how it's presented?
Yeah, I love the packaging. I have this one. I only got this one type, so the nitro. I think I agree with Chuck. The whole Japanese play on it, the sexiness of the package, it makes me want to pick it up. I think that the flash, what was it called?
Flash chilled.
Flash chilled. I think is interesting because this is a really crowded category, and I'm kind of over all the coffee. Honestly, I don't find a huge difference in it. This product was good. It certainly makes me want to pick it up because of how different the packaging and how I really like this one. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pleasant. I was pleasantly surprised and going, oh my God, another coffee. And I was pleasantly surprised by what I was drinking.
High praise, Jamie. Big fan of your brand. So that means a lot. Thank you.
There you go. John, you know, I don't know how many coffee brands come across our desks every day. You know, Mera, I first encountered the brand at the Coffee Expo here in Boston last year. You know, what are your thoughts in terms of the differentiation of this brand versus the hundreds of other coffee brands that are currently on the market?
I mean, it's going to be tough. I think, you know, we're talking about something that has sort of a technical differentiation to create the flavor. And I think, you know, that's been always the hard part for coffee, whether we're talking about, you know, ready to drink or coffee beans or, you know, I don't know, third wave coffee shops, you know, one saying their approach is better than the other. And I think that's hard. I mean, that requires a lot of education and, you know, I think you do have something in sort of the Japanese style that, you know, if I love the look of the packaging that you showed. And I think, you know, you can just show something that's sophisticated and elegant. And, you know, hopefully the liquid speaks for itself without having to go out there and educate people on all those different things. That being said, I think, you know, you had a lot of innovation in that deck. I think, you know, you just need to think about, you know, which direction you want to go, because I think that's been the other challenge for coffee companies. It's like, do you go into dairy or plant-based milk? Do you just make flavors? Do you make, I don't know, do you add matcha in there too? There's a lot of different options. And I think, you know, just having something that feels focused, even if that other innovation's out there and you want to get to it later, but, you know, just show something that's nice and tight. Got a lot of good pieces there. And the coffee I tasted was great. No technical explanation required for that.
Thanks, John.
Serby, I want to kick it back to you for a second. Adam focused on millennials who appreciate a quality product as the target consumer for this brand. Do you think that's the right fit? Do you think it's too narrow, too broad? You know, what are your thoughts on what the positioning is in terms of its audience?
I think millennials are more likely to experiment and try new things. There are a few other flash chilled coffees out there, but you still don't hear about them very often. And I think millennials were the first ones to really get onto the cold brew bandwagon. So I feel like they'll be the ones to experiment with something like this. I will say a segment that is often forgotten is the boomer segment, and they're the ones that are really driving the economy. They have the highest disposable income. We're seeing a rise in the silver economy. So I think there's no harm in considering potentially targeting the boomer segment as well, maybe with specific offerings that help with functionality that they're looking for.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Great presentation, Adam. Great feedback from the judges. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, guys. It's an honor.
All right. Indeed, it was an honor to have all of our finalists present today. Amazing stuff across the board, amazing stuff across the entire competition. We had almost 90 people, 90 entrepreneurs apply to this competition, get it down to 6, and we will be picking one, or the judges will be picking one to win the entire competition. Before we get to the announcement, before the judges deliberate, I just want to ask, you know, in terms of a general sense of how everyone did. Chuck, let's start with you. I just want to chat again in a general sense about how everyone did. Chuck, we'll start with you. You know, as a distributor, I'm sure you see dozens of products come across your desk every day. You know, what are some of the elements that you saw today that would really make you pick up a product to take a second look?
I mean, it's always hard to get that initial response just off a product. Like, we need to see some market movement. Like, what are they doing on the ground to get this into people's hands? And just, what impresses us the most is the hustle of the original entrepreneur. Like, let us see some creative ways. Like, now is the time to get creative, to get your brand to trial with a lot of new customers. So that's what we're looking for right now when a new brand walks into our office.
And Jamie, as an entrepreneur, someone who's been doing this for a long time, from a presentation standpoint, what are some of the highlights from the presentations you saw today? What are some of the things that you think need to be tweaked a little bit if they are to present in front of investors and retailers?
I think the highlights were the stories, and specifically the story that talks about the why, and then talks about what the issue is, and then what they're doing about it and how they're attacking it. That whole there was one that we talked to today, which I think was, I can't remember which one it was. So I love that. I also think that the crowded space, these are crowded spaces, and to be able to tell your story in a way that is going to be so compelling that somebody's going to want to put it on their shelf with all the function and whatnot, I think is really going to be the difference between whether they're going to make it or not.
Surabhi, we saw brands in very new and emerging categories present today. Stress relief, in some cases, with the superfruit waters and with the super herb infusions. How do you evaluate category potential when you're thinking about and evaluating these brands?
That's a great question. I would say what we've seen today, they're almost iterations of categories that have existed. And so I think what we have to look at is a trajectory of the older categories, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that brings a great point. Oftentimes when we're evaluating brand, scalability is a big factor. We want to make sure that this is a category and a trend that's sustaining and not just a fad. So there's a lot of sometimes art and science that goes into evaluating both the category and the brand to determine longevity of both.
Great stuff. And John, once again, packaging, taste, very, very important. How do you see these brands evolving? How do you see these brands adjusting their packaging and their flavor to fit the modern consumer, to fit more mainstream consumers? What are some of the things that need to be added? What are some of the things that need to be eliminated?
I think in general, these were products that were all pretty polished looking, probably just simplification of the message. But, I'd also just point out that, these products are all focused on DTC right now, which I think, maybe has slightly different rules in terms of, what a consumer is willing to do to research a product they're buying online right now, as opposed to, if it's in a cooler door at retail. But no, I think, these products are all they're all good foundations that can be evolved, and, nice work to all of them.
Great stuff. Huge thanks to our fantastic judging panel. You guys were awesome. I think everyone watching at home would agree. We are going to move to the deliberation phase of this round. A couple things in the meantime, just want to let folks at home know and remind folks that just in a couple of weeks, we have BevNet and Nosh virtually live taking place on June 23rd and 24th. It's going to be the biggest event of the first half of the year. You don't want to miss it. So much packed in there about relevant information and news to our industries. Sign up for the event via subscribing to BevNet or Nosh. Also, during the deliberation portion, we're going to be showing an encore presentation of our office hours program, which talks about category reviews and resets, new directions for retail, and buyer expectations, featuring John Majori and Betsy Gillette. Please stay tuned for that. And come back at 5:15. I know at the beginning of our round I said 5:30, but please come back at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be making that announcement of the winner and including a short interview with the winner shortly thereafter. Until then, please enjoy office hours.
Good afternoon and welcome to Office Hours. I'm BevNet Editor-in-Chief Jeff Kleinman, and today we're going to be talking about retailing. If you think about it, every purchase entails retail disruption. A bottle pulled from the cooler, an ice cream from the freezer, they cause a void at the shelf, a break in a perfect merchandising plan. But that disruption is anticipated, and the act of that disruption feeds a constantly evolving evaluation of products to determine increasing or decreasing demand. The nightly and weekly resets of categories reflect that regular post-disruption return to order, one that's constantly undertaken by vendors and store workers alike. But now we're in the era of ghost stores and senior shopping hours, of personal protective equipment and dividers at the cash register, of Zoom product pitches and chain-wide allocations. How do you create order when the world has thrown a COVID-19 sized bowling ball through your planogram so that not just short-term resets, but long-term category and product reviews, the ones that only take place once or twice a year, are completely mixed up? The entire industry is dependent on that planning cycle to determine what will happen for the year to come. Those buyer meetings that you spend thousands of dollars on in travel and hotel, the approvals that result in increased time at your co-packer to get enough of your new product into the pipeline, that money you've raised for marketing and sales efforts, they all have to wait. Maybe will even be delayed for the year because, like so many other employees, retail buyers are pretty much frozen in place, putting innovation on the back burner and hoping to fill the shelves with products that at least echo familiarity. So what are entrepreneurial brands, and not just startups, but innovative companies of all sizes, supposed to do at a time when grocery trips are down and impulse purchasing is largely happening online? How do you start or solidify a winning partnership with a retailer when the stores are as much crisis centers as they are proving grounds? To help us figure out, we're bringing in a pair of retailing experts to join the discussion. To begin with, we welcome John Majori, who spent 30 years in the food business, the last 17 running a brokerage and consultancy that specializes in high growth brands like Vita Coco, Red's Burritos, and Siggy's. He's in touch with buyers across the country, either as a broker or a broker manager, and he's here to paint the picture of the current retail purchasing environment. As always, we want you to join us and participate in the conversation. So please email questions to ask@BevNET.com or text them to 781-423-3520, and we'll get them on as soon as we can today. John, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, Jeff.
So I've decided early on that we're going to use you initially as a correspondent from the on-the-ground view. So for your clients, what have the last 8 weeks been like in terms of selling in and moving product?
Well, it's been so different. I mean, what's happening is so unpredictable day to day. The buyer's job has transitioned to focus on getting product onto the shelf, which was like an afterthought in the past. It was just something that just happened. Now all of a sudden they're a lot more engrossed into it. So it's a whole domino effect of what's gone on with buyers not being in the office. But, you know, I tell people, even if they were in the office, they wouldn't have time to meet with vendors anyway. So it's a different way of life for them. There's so much different things happening unordinary. So what's really happening out there is the buyers are doing their best they can to look at new items, but they know that the resets have been changed. They know that the model is going to be different for the back half of 2020, unlike it's ever been before. and they're going to do the best they can to get the best optimum product out there on the shelf for their consumers. Nobody knows when the end date's going to be, when the transition's officially going to happen. You know, some chains have gone back to start doing resets again. Others still have them on hold. Certain chains will be pushing them back, but it's also going to be a juggling effect because some categories need to be reset at certain times. You take the soup category or the baking needs category. You can't push those resets off until December or January because they need to be done before the season. So it's probably going to mean that some retailers are going to be juggling up their reset schedules to get the key commodity categories done at the right time.
Weren't there a lot of categories that had already slowed their reviews even before this hit?
Yeah, many chains have gone to basically reviewing categories once a year, except for a few of the high volume, high turnover categories, such as yogurt or nutrition bars and things like that. So in some cases, if category reviews get canceled, basically it could be 2 years between reviews or some of the retailers. And that's a fact of life. I mean, the buyers, you know, their hands are going to be tied because there's only so many resources they can put towards the resets.
So let's talk about resets for a minute. What's going on in the stores on like a nightly or a weekly basis? And what's the significance of that in the marketplace?
Now, I'm sure everybody's been in stores. You've seen the stores have been, honestly, they're a mess because they've gone through so much product. So, you know, tags are missing, things. Planogram integrity is not what it once was in probably any store. Guys are just trying to fill up the shelves with any product that they get coming in. So the reset's going to definitely take some time to get done. And the stores have to get back straightened out. So that's what the buyers are really going to be focused on first. And so typically with resets, you've got, you know, 3 different types. You got like a full category review, category reset. You've got one that's like an adjustment, and then you've got like a pull and plug. So the first one, the major reset, where the buyer category manager really digs into the numbers, decides what the best items are, what the optimum set is, and they recreate the planogram from scratch. In many cases, those are going to get canceled, or they're going to get changed to be like an adjustment. What's an adjustment? Kind of what it says. You know, we can bring in some new brands, we can bring in some new items, but we're not going to reinvent the wheel there into the section. And I think that's where most of the categories are going to be, probably for at least the back half of 2020 or even into early 2021. And then the pull and plug is just a simple one, and it typically is they don't really take in any new brands. It's basically existing brands changing up flavors. You know, you might take the banana flavor out, put the strawberry flavor in. That's typically what a pull and plug is. So that's really what's happening now is with the reset schedules getting pushed or delayed, they're going to be trying to cram more in towards the end of the year. And they're going to have to downplay them into mostly adjustments and pull and plugs.
Brands that were expecting to be cut in, are there any reductions in those kinds of situations?
I don't think so. I mean, if you got the green light for your buyer category manager that you were going in and setting the items up, chances are you're going to be delayed if you're not already have been delayed. But for the most part, I believe you're going to get into the set. It's just going to take a little bit more time if you've already gone the official word. If you've had a meeting and it went very well and you're very confident, but they didn't make final decisions, then you might still be up in the air. It's going to depend on, you know, a lot of different factors out there.
Is there anyone who's tracking sort of the broad set of retailers who are doing category reviews and resets for up-to-date information?
Well, it's a very fluid situation. I know up here, Stop and Shop has transitioned. They're doing their resets at night. I think Whole Foods is doing the same thing. So they're kind of trying to keep to the schedule. But then there's a question about how much is really getting done. How efficient have they been? Are they going to have to go back and kind of fix these up later on down the line? But most retailers have kind of pushed them off, and there hasn't really been a set of like when it's kind of going to go live back, turn them back on.
Are there any opportunities that you're seeing that are being created with the change in reset timing?
Well, I mean, not too much right now. It might be down the line where some brands, unfortunately, some smaller brands are struggling. They might not make it through this, because of, the nature of the business. So that's probably where you're going to probably see a little bit of it. The other thing from the big CPG companies is a lot of the big CPG companies have pulled back innovation. And that's another thing that will dictate some of the reset schedules when timing's going to happen. Because a lot of times the retailers, especially the conventional retailers, they work around the big CPG companies when they're going to be launching items to try to time into that for those resets. So most of the major CPG companies have pulled back on their innovation. And what's going to be happening is, once they start announcing when they're going to be launching items, I think the retailers will be moving the schedule around to match it up to that.
So I just want to follow up on that for 1 second.
Yep.
Should the smaller brands be looking at those kind of vested interest products that come from the big brands, and how are they supposed to know when those are going to be cut in?
Well, that's really with communicating with your brokers and your sales reps and talking to the category managers and buyers, because that's probably when you're going to start seeing some notification out from the buyers and category managers about when the resets are going to be. Because if they got the big brands coming in there, that's when they're going to be looking to change everything around, do those resets and stuff. And it's going to, initially it's going to be tough on some of the smaller brands. If you don't have, if you're not already working with existing retailers, it's going to be tough to get products in 2020. Because most of the buyers are probably going to just fall back on staying with their existing brands, unless there's a big hole in the market or a brand is really just, lighting the world on fire. It's going to be tough for new brands to get into, especially on the conventional side, tough for small brands to get into new retailers.
So we've been discussing category reviews as a process, and that's the sort of in-store number crunching that takes place when we're identifying momentum and opportunities as buyers. But for most entrepreneurial brands, the moment they're really waiting for is the product review process. And that's the time when a buyer might be looking at what they have to offer. And to help give us another voice on how that particular part of the process is going for brands that are on their quest to acquire distribution, we're going to bring in Betsy Gillette, who's another sales expert and a co-founder and CEO of Synergy Sales Consulting Group. Betsy has worked with brands, with UNFI, and as a senior executive with Ignite Sales Management before she helped start Synergy. Betsy, welcome. Please tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here for the first time. So Synergy, we're the sales force for brands that don't have their own. So we help brands figure out their overall sales strategy, and then we go and execute that. We manage the distributors, the brokers, we track to the category reviews, we prepare the selling presentations, do the data and analytics to make sure that the brands are putting their best foot forward. And we're an integrated business partner with the brands that we work with, hopefully trying to take them to exit. So we work with about 8 to 10 brands at a time, roughly in the $2 to $25 million range. So. And
most of these brands are trying to add new stores and new territory. So they're in growth mode, or they're trying to break in for the first time. So how are buyers? Are they able to access buyers right now?
To reiterate what John said, yeah, it's tough right now. We are seeing some success in the natural channel, a little bit more than in the conventional channel. Retailers like Fresh Thyme are moving forward with the resets. Whole Foods are doing, some category reviews and resets right now. It's a little bit, there's not as many items being approved as there once was, but we still have some access to the buyers, particularly in the natural channel. And I'm hopeful that once COVID is mostly behind us, then our broker partners can go out to retail and sell into the tiny independents like they always have. And obviously that's been on hiatus here for the past 8 weeks or so.
I just wanted to ask, when you get access to the buyers, are they willing as willing to roll the dice as they have been in the past?
It depends on the retailer. It's interesting. We'll talk to one buyer at a retailer and they'll say, yeah, we're moving forward and, send us your information. And then a different buyer from a different category is like, we're going to put it on hold. So it's just a mixed bag out there. And to John's point, doing your best to keep abreast of what's happening at each specific retailer you want to target is really important. Whether it's through your broker partners, directly with the buyers, the distributors, any piece of information you can get is really helpful right now. But I think some of the more forward-thinking retailers, particularly the ones that have traditionally taken a chance on new brands, like a Whole Foods, like sometimes Natural Grocers and Fresh Thyme, we're still getting the access to that. Things are being delayed and moving slower, but it's still happening.
What would you say is the average time it's taking from that buyer meeting to cutting in?
We don't know yet, because like at Whole Foods, it's, usually 8 or 9 months. It's probably still going to take that long, right? The question is, are these retailers, conventional or otherwise, if they make a decision today on what they want to bring in, when is that really going to happen? And I don't think they know that at this point. There's too many moving pieces, and different parts of the country are opening up a little faster than others. So I think the key message is that brands are going to have to be flexible and be able to move quickly when asked upon, regardless of it's when is a reset happening, or when these retailers decide they're going to change the category review timing. Like, they're going to send a note out, and within a week or two, you're going to have to submit your information, I think. So the brands need to be ready to do that.
And then they also need to be able to manufacture and ship.
Yep.
Kind of at a moment's notice.
Yeah, that's another key piece that all our brands have really struggled with and have spent a lot of time on, is the whole supply chain piece. The one thing is to sell it in, but also to better understand how much product are they going to need to make. We saw this huge high in March, and now there's a little bit of a lull in April, and just better understanding how much product to make given cash constraints, given everything that's going on, has been a real challenge. And it's also interesting seeing some brands. One brand I heard of, they all of a sudden their glass bottles aren't available because something needed to be made for COVID, and all the supply was taken up. So they have to bob and weave, very quickly to make sure that they can still supply the product.
Are either of you finding that in cases like that, retailers are less likely to want to cooperate, or is that, I know that last week we talked about a certain spirit of, we can just get it done together. Are you two finding that?
I would say yes. Everyone wants to do the right thing. We've seen the distributors really step up and try to help and move product around where they can. I think the buyers and the retailers are going to try to do the same thing. It's just, what can they do? It's, it's a little, you just don't know yet.
Yeah, from the conventional retailer side, they've been very good about understanding. And the one thing I would stress is communication. If you think you potentially could have a problem with the product or timing wise, just communicate it to the buyer so they have an idea it's coming. It's not just at the 12th hour, all of a sudden, oh, we don't have that product. Apologies, definitely go be ahead of the curve with that, be upfront with it and tell them when, worst case scenario, what would be happening. So that's the one thing I would say about the communication.
Are there any categories that you're finding people are willing to do product reviews in right now?
It's interesting. It's one of the categories people are looking at is baking right now. We work with one baking brand that has everyday items and holiday specific, and a large Texas retailer reached out to us and said, we're ready to go now. It wasn't really a review time frame, but they knew we had the products and asked us to bring them in, so we did. So I think a bigger piece is, how do you be opportunistic when these situations arise? And I think, one of the other things some of our brands have seen is if an incumbent brand is not able to supply, then the retailer needs to fill their shelf. So we've had a Midwest retailer reach out to us on one of our frozen brands and said, hey, can you supply us a one-time shot for one truckload of product? And the good news for us is, we were able to supply it without shorting any of our other current customers. And hopefully it'll sell through, we'll get some reorders, and maybe we'll stay on shelf. So it's not really a category review, but being able to take advantage of opportunities when they come up, I think the brands need to be aware of.
Yeah, but like I represent a soup manufacturer, and we've had a lot of category reviews, but typically because soup is the time of year where you're reviewing soup for the fall. So I think certain categories, it probably like soup and baking, that's seasonal, are more apt to get the reviews done.
Yep.
So we have a question from our first call-in guest, Jillian Van Gin. I hope I'm saying that right. Who's the CEO of Fatso Peanut Butter. Jillian, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
All the way from Canada. So I guess I'll just jump right into my question. So we're a brand, we're in 21 stores in the Pacific Northwest in Whole Foods. We expanded there in October. We had planned on going down to Expo, and clearly some of our plans have been a bit derailed. And we do have a broker down in California, and we have distribution that can go down the I-5. So we're sort of forging ahead. So I'm curious to know, what advice would you have for people that are sort of already moving into the United States and hoping to expand during this time? We've already got the ball rolling, and so we're being careful about how we're doing it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on a Canadian brand or a brand from outside the US that's already in the midst of a US rollout.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters if you're from the U.S. or Canada at all. But the thing that you have to be wary of is how much cash do you need to spend, and how long is it going to take you to gain that distribution? I don't think you necessarily need to stop, because I think there's business to be had, but I think you need to be prepared that it's going to be a little bit slower than you otherwise would have thought it would be. Mm-hmm. I think as it sounds like your brand is kind of independently store driven, and having those brokers go into stores to sell them, store by store, based on your distribution with UNFI or KE or however you're distributing, I think will be important. And continuing to talk to those brokers to see what they're able to actually accomplish in their market is going to be key for you.
Jill, if you can stick with us for 1 sec, I can hear something going on in the background there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, how are you finding that your brokers are communicating well with you? And to throw it back to John, are there ways that you would work with your broker differently right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably from the expectations, I would say. Make sure they understand what you expect. It's the expectations are different now than they would have been had we not had this COVID-19 situation. And oftentimes brokers can get frustrated if they don't feel like they're getting enough done for you. So make sure they be reasonable with your expectations and timelines. And I think that's the number one thing, because you want to keep your broker's morale up on the brand, because you don't want to get them frustrated on it. So that would, the number one thing I'd say is, keep the morale up with your broker.
We refocused to really look at California, seeing as that we're up in Victoria, British Columbia. We went down to Washington and then to Oregon. So our plan was, hopefully a national rollout after Expo, but we refocused to California. But the sustainability, to your point, Betsy and John, also looking for benchmarks from our brokers, I think is really good advice for us right now. We're looking to move slowly and actually use this as an opportunity to keep things slow and in control, because as a small Canadian brand with a market of 25 million, going into a place like California can be really ham-fisted. So we know that there's a real opportunity for a small brand like ours to really roll out of control quickly and have to pack it back to Canada with our tail between our legs.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're doing right now with a lot of our brands is making sure that our broker partners have all the tools that they need in order to be successful. We're training them, retraining them. They've had some new people since maybe we've, did a brand refresh with them in the past. We're making sure that, they have access to all samples and VIP coupons and swag if it's available. So being prepared and ready to go, I think will be, help you as we come out of this here, hopefully in the next few weeks or months.
Okay, great.
Oh, so Jill, thank you very much for joining us. I just want to swing the question back to our retail experts real quick. Jillian was talking about the idea of whether or not things might have to turn into retreat. And some of that's dependent on how well the distributors are adapting to the situation, how well they're able to get product into stores. Are they able right now to build momentum for brands, or are they facing a lot of the same trouble that the retailers are?
It's a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, the distributors are doing a phenomenal job, I think. And, we don't always say that about our distributor partners, but I think right now they're really have stepped up and have tried to supply the best that they possibly can. They're bringing in additional resources and all of that. So first, they're trying to take care of the staple items as much as they possibly can. And then, they have had to take a little bit of a break, in my opinion, to forage new items and new distribution centers. They're not activating ancillary items, to try to grow volume. They want to make sure that those slots are taken up for the items that are actually going to sell and are a proven winner. But that said, I have seen both UNFI
All right. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Now for the announcement of the winner of New Beverage Showdown 19, sponsored by Venturing and Emerging Brands. Before we make that announcement, just a quick reminder to folks watching at home on the live stream. BevNet and Nosh Virtually Live is taking place on June 23rd and 24th. A can't miss event. Best way to attend is to subscribe to BevNet or Nosh. Do so at BevNET.com or Nosh.com, and you'll be joining us on June 23rd and 24th. All right. After 12 semifinalists, we do have a winner, and I'm going to announce that winner right now. The winner is Moment. Congratulations to Moment and the founders, Fahim Kaji and Aisha Chotani, who are now with me for a quick chat about their great victory. Aisha, Fahim, congratulations. Well done. Well done. Well deserved. There it is. Cheers.
Our moment.
Indeed it is. And you're going to be able to drink it out of this fine trophy that we'll be sending you later this week. And please, I think you said you're going to put it behind you on the mantle there.
It's going to go right here. We'll have the moments hanging in at the top of it, but it's going to go right here.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, great job. Let's just chat briefly about the win. The judges really seem to like your product. I think the one consistent I guess criticism that they had was where your brand name is on the bottom of your can. Given that feedback, are you going to move it up?
I think we're going to think about it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to seriously think about it. We got quite a lot of feedback on that. So watch the space for the next iteration, I suppose.
Great. In terms of the $10,000 ad package that you're getting as well, I mean, how much of that is going to be directed toward educating folks about stress relief in a can versus the brand itself? I guess how much are you going to promote the function as much as the brand?
I think I think people already have the idea of stress relief. I think when we think about marketing, I think there's two components to it. One is this idea of drinking your meditation and just educating people about that kind of broad concept. And then, coming to moments for this joyful experience when you're doing that. So I think that's kind of how we'll think about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a combination. And as you know, we are also partnering to ensure that mindfulness is something not just for our consumers, but broader society as well, especially with kids at an early age, learning that so that they can craft their lives in a different and more meaningful way. So yeah, a little bit is going to go towards that as well.
You guys are new to the industry. I'd love to hear about, the most challenging moments for you, getting to this point. From speaking with entrepreneurs, for the past 9 years or so, everyone's got an interesting story. What's the biggest stumbling block for you guys, and how are you addressing it currently?
I think it's been, honestly, you asked that question and I thought of like 100 different massive challenges. It's really challenging starting a product. Honestly, when I left my job, I don't know, about a year and a half ago now, I thought it was going to be a lot easier, but oh my gosh, every component has been challenging. I would say the biggest challenge for us has been we wanted to make this a beverage that we would love to drink. And that would mean that it's almost zero sugar, very low calories, has only good ingredients, and we would feel good about drinking it on a daily basis. But then also making sure that it has a fantastic taste. And it took us quite a while to get there. But now that we're there, the feedback on the taste has been tremendous.
Yeah. You're not kidding when we said we've literally spent entire nights in our tiny kitchen mixing different flavors and trying out the concoctions with each other. We've spent weekends and weekdays doing just that.
Well, I mean, the judges noted that, and I think that's one of the things that people forget about beverages sometimes is taste. You can have the best function out there, but if it doesn't taste good, no one's going to drink it. At least in these days, back in the day, you could get away with not so great taste to get to a functional end, or to get to a functional,
absolutely,
to get to a certain function. But nowadays, it's got to taste great. In terms of scalability, I'm interested. You talked a bit about this. What's the next step for Moments? I mean, how do you guys get to that place where it's not just a handful of folks that are picking up your product on shelf or buying it from your website? How do you get to the next step where you get a much more mainstream consumer interested in your brand?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think there's 3 steps there. Step number 1 is we're opening up our Shopify store, which is going to allow us to do a lot more advertising on Instagram and on Facebook. And at the price point that we're at, we're not a $6 or $7 kind of very niche beverage. We're a $2.50, $3 beverage. So we are trying to get to our mass market. So Facebook, Instagram. Stage 2 will be partnerships, and there's a lot of mindfulness, I mentioned, is having a moment right now, and I think there's an opportunity to work with a lot of brands to do stuff there. And then I think the third component is strategic kind of partnerships with traditional retail. I think that's kind of the third component.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations on the big win. Fahim, Aisha, you guys did great. Almost 90 people or entrepreneurs applied to the showdown, and you guys won it all. So congratulations on winning New Beverage Showdown 19, sponsored by Venturing and Emerging Brands. You can pick this up, put it up on Instagram. We'd love to see it once it gets to you.
Woo. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks for all your support.
Thank you so much. Hope to catch up with you guys in person.
Terrific. Thanks, everyone.
All right. All right. That brings us to the end of New Beverage Showdown 19, sponsored by Venturing and Emerging Brands. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been a blast. First time doing it virtually, and I thought our team behind the scenes just did an incredible job. From Josh to Jackie to Joe to Jess to Ryan to Aaron. I mean, everyone was just amazing throughout the day and throughout this whole week. Kudos to our team, and kudos to everyone who participated and everyone watching at home. I hope this is a great show for you. Signing off for everyone here at BevNet and Nosh. I'm Ray Latif, the editor and producer of BevNet's Taste Radio podcast. We will see you in a couple weeks for BevNet and Nosh virtually live, once again, June 23rd.